Welcome to Jackie Wall Studio, and thank you for joining me today for the sunflower coaster tutorial. Today's project is really versatile because you can change the size of your sunflower just by changing the size of your center. This one that we will work on today has 4 rounds for our brown, and we end up with 12 petals. But if you want something a little bit larger, you can add 1 more round into your center, and then you end up with 15 petals. Today's project is about 14 centimeters wide or 5.5 inches, but if you want to go a little bit bigger, you can. For today's project, you will need a crochet hook. I will be using a 5mm hook, a pair of scissors. Some stitch markers will help, but you can also just use a piece of yarn to mark stitches. And then I use a tapestry needle, but a darning needle or your hook also works to fill in your ends. And I will be using cotton for today's project, brown and yellow, but I have also used acrylic. Let's get started. I'm going to use a magic ring, but if you're more comfortable using 4 chains and then slip stitching that into a ring, go right ahead. Now I'm going to start right away with 6 single crochets into my ring. I'm just going to mark the back stitch of the back loop of my first stitch. So that's 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I will bring this together and I'll pull up a little bit so I don't lose my loop. And then I'm going to take my hook and go through the back loop only of that first stitch, pull through my loop, and then I am going to find the front loop right there. Sometimes it'll pull tight, so you might have to look for it the first few times that you're doing this. And then I can pull right through and start right away with another single crochet instead of using a chain to start my round. Okay, I'm going to pull my yarn through, and then just as before, I'm going to mark that back loop of the first stitch, because we're going to keep using that technique through this video. If you want to use the single chain to start your round, go ahead. So this next round we are going to put 2 single crochets into each stitch, so we'll have a total of 12 single crochets in our second round. There we go. Sometimes things get a little tangled. It's also warm in my studio today, so that always makes it more of a challenge. And there we go. Now I should have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I like to always check just to make sure. And then the same process, I'm going to bring my hook to the back, pull my loop through, and then go and find the front loop. Sometimes, like I said, you have to look for it because it's been pulled tight, and then I will start with a single crochet. So 1 crochet goes into that first stitch, and then we are going to do 2 single crochets into the next stitch, and that is the new pattern for this round. 1 and then 2. 1 and then what is called an increase is 2 in the next one, and 1, and 2, and you will have 18 stitches, and I'll meet you over here. You should have ended with an increase in your last stitch and have 18 stitches going around for that row. So I'll do the same. I'm just going to go in through the back, bring my loop through, and then find the front loop, go through both, and start my next row. So the next round, I'm actually going to start with my increase right away. If you don't alternate where your increases are, you're going to end up with a bit of a hexagon shape. So I'm going to start with my increase, and then I am going to do 2 stitches that only have 1, and then the increase in the next one. So this round, we have 2 individual stitches in between our increase. And we'll have 24 stitches at the end. I will finish up this round, and I will meet you at the end for the next round. You will end with 2 individual stitches for your 24 stitches for this round. And now this next round is a little bit different, so I'm not going to worry about doing the back loop, because we are going to, I'm just going to finish this round off as usual, because this round we are going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then miss a stitch and slip stitch into the next. Okay, and then chain 2, skip a stitch, and then slip stitch into the next. Chain 2, skip a stitch, and slip stitch into the next. One more time, and then I'll just finish off the round, and you can do the same. Skip a stitch and slip stitch, and continue to do that all the way around, and I'll meet you over here. All right, I've worked my way all the way around, and here's my last one. I'm going to skip a stitch, and then I am going to slip stitch right into there, and I'm going to cut that off. Now there's lots of different ways to tie off. If you bury your ends, you can just pull this right through. Alternatively, if you want a really secure knot, you can go through this and then come back through here. Now that will leave a bit more of a knot, but it will be very secure. So I'm just going to pull this tight, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to put it through at least 2 different directions in the back to secure it. So in that final round that we did, we created these little gaps that we're going to work our petals into. So you should have 12 of those, and I've secured my yarn onto the right hand corner, and I'm just going to slip stitch that on so that it's secure. From there, I am going to do 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to work basically treble crochet clusters. So I'm going to yarn over twice. I'm going to go into that same space, yarn over and come through, 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over twice, go into that same space, yarn over and come through, 5 on my hook, yarn over, go through 2 and go through 2, 3 on my hook. We're going to do that again, yarn over twice, into that space, yarn over, come through, 6 loops on my hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and we're going to end up with 4 loops on our hook. Now those 4 loops are going to be important. So I'm going to just take a stitch marker and mark them off so you can see them. And then we are going to chain 3. Now those 4 loops are important because these 3 chains are going to become a little bit of a tip at the end of our sunflower, so it's a little bit pointed. Now I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to go through all 4 of those loops. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to come through all 4 of those loops, and then I'm going to slip stitch that to get that point. From there, I'm going to finish this petal by doing 4 chains, 4, and then I am going to secure that into that same space. So each petal will be worked in those little scallops that we created the last round, and there is our first petal. We're going to do the same process. I'm going to start by slip stitching into that next loop that we created on the last row of the brown. There, slip stitch that right in. And I'm just going to work this tail through my stitches as I go. And now 4 chains, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over twice, go through that space, yarn over, come through, 4 loops, yarn over, go through 2, go through 2, 2 loops, yarn over twice, go through, yarn over, come through. Now I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over, go through 2, go through 2, 3 loops on my hook. 1, 2, go through, yarn over, come through. Now right here is where you'll have 6 on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, go through 2, 4 on your hook, and these are the 4 that I marked with my stitch marker. And I'll do that again just so it's easier to see. Once you get the hang of it, you won't have to mark those. Okay, and then I'm going to yarn over and go through all 4 of them. And from here, do 1, 2, 3 chains. Then we have to go through all 4 of those loops. There we go. Yarn over and come through, and then slip stitch into that last chain, which creates a bit of a point, and then 4 chains, secure to the base, whoops, with a slip stitch. Oh, it looks like I got some of my brown in there. Let me just fix that. There we go. There, now I'm clear of my previous round. There we go. And then slip stitch into the next space. And now we have 2 petals. And then once again, you do the 4 chains, and each of the petals works the same process. So work all the way around until you have 12 petals, and then once we're at this last petal, I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how to finish off this round. To finish off the last petal, we are going to just slip stitch this into that space, and then to finish it, I'm going to slip stitch into the first space that we worked on, and then tie that off and work in the ends. Congratulations on your sunflower coaster. Have fun playing with different colors and sizes. For more inspiration, please subscribe, and as always, remember, just keep creating. There are more flowers to crochet and even a sunflower you can learn to draw. What will you create next?